is Ryan Wall. I'm a mortgage banker with Atlantic Bay Mortgage Group. In simplest terms, I help people get the financing they need to purchase a home.
What's it like working with you?
Well, they can expect a lot because there's a lot that's going to happen in the transaction. But my commitment to my clients is first and foremost communication. That's, I think, the most important thing. I work with a lot of first-time home buyers. When I went through that process, I had a lender who didn't communicate, so I didn't know what was going on. So communication, top to bottom, front to back, and availability are the two biggest things I let my clients know. I don't care if it's 9:30, 10 o'clock on a Friday. If you need me, call me, text me.
What are other ways that you keep buyers informed and try to keep it as stress-free as possible?
I think, again, just going back to the communication. So through each step, first and foremost, I kind of lay out a plan up front. This is what the loan process is going to look like. This is what you should expect. And then as we're hitting those milestones, calling the client, checking in, and having conversations, going through their initial disclosures, going through their closing disclosures, going over, appraisal results, everything, just sort of upfront. Hey, this is what you would expect. And as we reach those milestones, just touching base and having a conversation.
What is one thing you do differently than most lenders?
And I'm just going to go back to availability and really an emphasis on like almost handholding, like I'm with you every step of the way. The one thing I hear from a lot of people that have had experiences with other lenders is I wasn't informed. I couldn't reach them. I didn't feel like I knew what was happening throughout the entire process. So the feedback I get from my clients is that they love how informative I am and how much I communicate. When something unexpected comes up, first things first is communicating with the entire team. So that's my team at Atlantic Bay, and then also, the realtor that's involved in the transaction, putting our heads together to formulate how are we going to respond to this? What is the next step? And doing everything we can to also communicate to the client that like, hey, we've hit a little bit of a roadblock, but this is what we're going to do to try to work on it. So really it's like a team effort, all hands on deck just to address the issues as they come up.
How do you help us stay competitive in a multiple offer situation?
The thing I like to do up front is, depending on our timeline, is go through what we call a pre-underwrite. That's where we take the borrower's loan file and submit it to underwriting so they can do a full review and give us an approval on the borrower. What that means is that borrower in the eyes of the listing agent is essentially as good as a cash buyer, which means the loan can't fall apart based on the client's ability to qualify. So from there, that does two things. A, it strengthens the offer because, hey, we're coming with a fully approved borrower here, not just a pre-approval. And then that shortens the amount of time that we have to close. So that's one step I like to go with is, hey, let's pre-underwrite the client up front before we're out there. That way the offer is more competitive because we're operating on a shorter timeline. And, we have a fully guaranteed qualification from the borrower. I worked in the electronics department at Target. I got that job when I was 16 in 1999. I ended up working there for 7 years, kind of like through the remainder of high school and college. And I, at one point, became a cart pusher. So I was out in the parking lot pushing carts. And then I stopped going to school and became like loss prevention. So I was like catching shoplifters until I realized they're paying me $12 an hour to potentially get stabbed by somebody for a multi-billion-dollar corporation that doesn't care about me. So I was like, I didn't sign up to be a cop, but yeah, that was my first job at Target for about 7 years.
And if you weren't a lender, what would you be doing? What else would you do?
That's a fantastic question. I really don't know how to answer that. So I owned a tattoo shop for 10 years. And basically when you own a good, successful tattoo shop, there's nothing for you to do any longer. So I was searching for something that would fulfill me, thought about jumping into real estate, and then a friend of mine put the idea in my head to become a lender. So if I wasn't a lender right now, I truly have no idea what I would do. Probably some sort of open another business, maybe try to open another tattoo shop, but I love what I do and I can't believe I found it kind of at this stage in my life, but I can't imagine doing anything else at this point.
What do you do outside of work?
I have a family, so I'm a father of 3 girls. I have a 16-year-old, a 13-year-old, and a soon-to-be 12-year-old. So I spend a lot of time with them. I'm also like involved in music. So I played in a band that has toured all over the world for 22 years now. So while I don't tour as much as I used to, we still find time to do that. And then other than that, just like stereotypical dad stuff, like watch sports, drink a couple beers, mow the lawn.
Cook up some mean meals.
Oh yeah, my
the
fiance and I
socials.
do like to cook as well. Yeah.
What do you do to get through the really busy, long days? Are you a coffee guy? Energy drinks?
Yeah, I'm a coffee guy.
Yeah.
I'm a coffee guy for sure. That, and I've been like really focusing on my hydration, and that helps. Like that helps give you energy. So I'm trying to drink a gallon of water a day, but then there's probably 2 or 3 coffees a day on top of that, which I don't know how much that helps.
What's your
Hydration,
favorite
but-
Richmond coffee?
Ooh, so Blanchard's is like kind of a staple for me. I also love Lamplighter. And then Pay over on Cleveland
yeah.
is like one of my favorite spots
That's
to
a
just
really cool
go.
spot.
Yeah, it's a super cool spot.
Yeah, it's very chill.
I mean, there's just like with the restaurants and everything else, there's tons of great coffee here, but Blanchard's, Pay, and Lamplighter for sure.
If your clients had to describe you in 3 words, what would they say?
Ooh, I don't know. I should pull up my reviews. I think they would say attentive, supportive, and communicative.
What's one tip for first-time home buyers?
Get pre-approved immediately, even if you think like, oh, I don't know if I have enough money. Like, don't think you've read enough on Reddit or Google. Reach out, talk to a local lender, and just rip the Band-Aid off and see where you stand. That's I think the biggest piece of advice I could give.
What is the biggest myth about mortgages?
That you need 20% down to qualify or to be able to buy a home. That's simply not true. The service that we use to pull credit, it will auto-populate a credit repair plan, and it's going to populate that. You hear the word repair, it sounds almost derogatory. I'd say credit improvement plan. So even somebody who's got an 800 score, it will potentially populate a way for them to raise their score. So a lot of folks are sitting on the sidelines like, oh, my score is a 615 or I'm a 620. Another hack I'd say is ignore your credit monitoring apps that tell you what your score is. Those are not accurate most of the time. So don't operate off assumptions, or don't operate because your Wells Fargo app is telling you that you have a 720 FICO. Talk to a lender, have your credit pulled, and then you'll know where you stand.
How does that impact? A lot of people worry about those credit pulls and it lowering their rate or their score.
Their score, yeah. So we always start with a soft credit pull, which will have no impact to your credit score. It allows us to see 2 out of the 3 bureaus and make a determination of what your median credit score is, which is what everyone in the mortgage industry uses to qualify somebody. In terms of impact throughout the entire process, until we're under contract and doing a full credit pull, we don't need to impact your credit score by doing that full credit pull. It's also minimal, 5 to 7 points when we do the full credit pull. And what a lot of people don't realize is when you close on that mortgage, your credit is going to come down because you've just taken out however many hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. It will rebound quickly, usually within 90 days. And it's not going to tank your credit score, but you are going to see some fluctuation there moving downward when you close on the home and that hits your credit.
What is your take on renting versus buying in Richmond right now?
If you have the means at all, buy a home. I bought my first home kind of on a whim. It was really from the moment my ex-wife said, hey, maybe we should buy a house, to me being under contract. It was about 6 weeks. And so my advice is, if homeownership is something that you want to do, at least, again, reach out, get pre-approved, see if you can qualify. Because I think everybody in this room knows the impact that owning your own home can have on your life. I had no plan whatsoever to buy a home, ended up in one, and it's really kind of changed the whole trajectory of my life. Going from that first home to leveraging that to get into my second home. So yeah, my advice is reach out, get pre-approved, and if you can avoid renting, do it, because you're going to benefit yourself in the long run by owning.
Would you agree that buying a house is one of the best steps to building generational wealth that there is available to people?
100%, yeah. And that's, I think, why that kind of piggybacks off of why I'm saying, hey, don't wait any longer. A lot of people stay on the sidelines because they hear things on the internet, they read things on Reddit, or they're listening to family members and whatever else. And it's like, just reach out, get a lay of the land. And if you are truly comfortable with the payment, right? Like, don't stretch yourself thin, but if you can afford that payment, get in, because we say it over and over again. Interest rates aren't going to stay where they are forever. There will likely be a refinance opportunity at some point. But if not, then you got the house at a price that is going to be much less than it is a year, 2, 3 years down the road.
Musician, you see a lot of families. So Richmond and Baltimore have a lot of the same bands that go in and out.
Yep.
Who has better fans, Richmond or Baltimore?
That's a tough one, because I love Baltimore and their music scene up there is on fire. But I got to give it to Richmond. Richmond has always been so supportive of their own homegrown bands, um, as well as touring bands. But like, nobody puts on for Richmond bands the way Richmond does. So Richmond for sure.